So I'm Lynn Drazinski. I'm one of the faculty members in the Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders at Augustana College. I've been teaching at Augustana College for 8 years now. Before joining the faculty at Augustana College, I was a faculty member at Rockhurst University in Kansas City. And for the many years before that, I was a practicing speech-language pathologist. My area of specialization is what we call neurogenic communication disorders. That's working with people who have strokes or brain injuries. But we have a lot of specialties in the field of communication sciences and disorders, and mine is just one of them. Well, it's a pleasure to meet all of you, and I hope you're all managing through this new way that we're learning and teaching right now. I have to say, I think I'm getting pretty good at it after a couple weeks. It was a little bit of a slow start, but I think we're doing a pretty good job of it at Augustana. When we learned that we were going to need to start teaching online, we were provided with lots of resources to help us with that. And it's very interesting. I think we're getting pretty good at it. So at least that's what my students say. And they say they're doing well. They just took their first exam today. So we'll see how that works out, online exam. Anyway, what I wanted to do today was talk a little bit about our department. Let me get these shiny glasses off. Talk a little bit about our department and let you know a little bit about the program. And I was hoping that if you had questions, you would ask them and that I can answer them for you. And like I always tell students in my class, if you are asking a question, everyone is silently thanking you. All right, so there are no dumb questions. So if you have a question, please feel free. And I would like very much to answer your question. If you would like to unmute, or if you'd like to send it through on chat, I'll make sure to answer all those questions. The other thing I might do is make sure that you have my email access before we finish up. So if you ever want to email any questions to me, you can do that also. Okay, happy to answer them at any time. So just to be sure, let me see a show of hands. So how many of you feel that you're pretty familiar with the professions of communication sciences and disorders? Anyone? Pretty good? Okay, how many of you have actually had opportunities to do any observations so far? Some of you? Okay, all right, great. Well, if you haven't, no worries, because the very first course that you take in our department is Introduction to Communication Sciences and Disorders, taught by me. So I'll be hopefully be seeing all of you in the fall. And within that course, it is required that you do observations, about 10 hours of observation. And the intention is by the time you finish that course in the fall, that you really know everything there is to know about the professions in communication sciences and disorders. You've done some observation. You know what will be required of you at Augustana, in your undergraduate education, in your graduate education, and then beyond that. So you'll have a very clear picture of what these professions look like. Because at that time, then there's, I shouldn't say there's no turning back. You can always turn back, but from there on, you take courses within the major every term. And so we just want to make sure that you're really well aware of what you're getting into, okay? If you change your mind and decide, no, this really isn't what I thought it would be, this isn't really what I'm so interested in, no problem. The fact that you think you might be interested in CSD tells me that you're interested in working with people. And what we learn in that class, we learn about all the disorders, a little bit about all the disorders. And that's information that's good for everyone. So, so it's a great course to take, even if you think that it's not the major for you. So no problem with that. But let me go on a little bit to tell you a little bit about the program at Augustana. So as I said, the first course that you take is in the fall of next year, Introduction to Communication Sciences and Disorder. Keep that in mind, CSD 110, okay, when you go to register. And from then on, you'll be taking courses such as anatomy and physiology of speech and speech science, speech and language development, phonetics, speech sound disorders, language disorders, research methods, audiology. You have a course in the clinic. And one of the things about Augustana's program that I think is really what draws a lot of students is that our students are engaged in some clinical work even at the undergraduate level. It's relatively rare in undergraduate programs in CSD. But in your senior year, you do spend time in the clinic doing some clinical work. So certainly by the time that you're finished, you know that this is the career for you. And the reason that clinical experience at the undergraduate level is so helpful is that there are a lot of people who can be a good student, but sometimes it's really good to know this thing about yourself of whether you really enjoy sitting and working with people one-on-one. And so it's nice to know that that's something that you have skill in and that you enjoy, because that's what we do. Okay, so having that clinical experience at the undergraduate level is something that's really that we can offer at Augustana that we find is very beneficial. I can say this from experience because I've taught in a program at the graduate level where students that are coming in have not had any clinical experience. And then they get there and say, oh, I don't like this, okay? It's kind of tough then, it's kind of hard to go back at that point. So we want to make sure that you're well prepared to move on to graduate education, because what I hope all of you know is that minimal entry requirements in the field of communication sciences and disorders is a master's degree. And so in order to work in this profession, you need to have a master's degree. You need to go to graduate school. So how many of you knew that? Did you know that? Okay, good. No surprises there, I hope. Right? Okay, so you're talking about like 6+ years of education, okay, beyond high school, but it's great. All right, so I did want to make it clear that the professions in communication sciences and disorders are to become a speech language pathologist or an audiologist or a speech scientist, okay? And so you do take coursework at the undergraduate level in audiology. You have to, it's a requirement, okay? It's a requirement that you do that. Anyone who's going into the wants to become a speech language pathologist or an audiologist has to have the same undergraduate degree in communication sciences and disorders. So we learn a lot about speech and language, but we also learn about audiology. Okay. As I was mentioning, your very first course in the department is in the fall of your first year, and then every term after that, you will be taking at least one course in the communication sciences and disorders. There are some terms where you take 2 courses, but it starts out for your first year is 1 course in CSD in the fall. You will be taking Augustana students, first-year students, take a J-term course, a course in January. It's like a 3-week course. And then in the spring term, there's another CSD course, Anatomy and Physiology. Now, you do finish with a liberal arts degree, and you'll probably learn more or already know some things about that in Augustana's curriculum. But there are courses outside of the CSD department that are required for speech language pathologists and audiologists. For example, psychology, human development, statistics. You need to have a biology course, and you need to have either a chemistry or a physics course. So those are all requirements in our profession. And it's not just that the faculty at Augustana says that you need to have those courses. Those courses are required in order for speech language pathologists or audiologists to become accredited, to become licensed, okay? And those are requirements placed by the American Speech Language Hearing Association, which is our professional organization that provides our certifications. that we need in order to practice. So those courses are pretty well dictated by those requirements. What I wanted to tell you also, and maybe you heard this, is that we are starting our first graduate cohort this summer. So we have our graduate program has just recently been approved, and that's been many years in the making. It takes a long time to put that together, but we have our first students that'll be starting this June in our graduate program, and they'll be graduating, leaving us in 2 years. We have a brand new building and a brand new clinic that we've really just in the past 2 months moved into. And it's wonderful. We have a state-of-the-art clinic with wonderful equipment, and it's just a beautiful setting. It's a lovely building, and we're very excited about that. So a lot of fun and new things going on in the CSD department at Augustana. So happy to have a new building and a new clinic and a new graduate program. A lot of great things going on. Now, I think that's the basic information about the program that I wanted to tell you about. And what I'd like to do now is to invite any questions that you might have about the program or about the professions or anything else that I can answer for you. Again, if you ask a question, everyone else will be thanking you. Okay, we all have a lot of questions and aren't sure which ones to ask first. So are there any questions out there? Feel free to mute yourself and shout out if you'd like to. Anyone? Or you can send them to me via chat.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Just to repeat something, because I'm just taking notes over here, but you said bio, chem, stats. What were the other classes that may be a requirement?
Sure. We need to have a biology course, and we need to have either a chemistry or a physics course. Psychology, like intro to psychology, and a human development course. These are at Augustana, those courses are offered through the psychology department, and statistics, that's also offered through the psychology department. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, the other one is a linguistics course, and at Augustana, that's offered through the English department. That's a requirement also. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Is there a sign language class that we have to take, or one available for us?
Mm-hmm. There is. We offer sign language course. It's a single course. It's not a progression of multiple courses, but it's a single course. And it's offered, it's not a requirement, but it's offered as an elective, and many students take it, and many students outside of our department take it too. It's a very popular course, but it's offered all the time. Mm-hmm. Let me mention, we always have 1 or 2 of the male types in our program at any given time. So when do most of, whoops, let me see that again. I lost it. Here we go. When do most of your students take the sign language course? Oh, it varies. You can take it anytime, and some of them take it early on and some of them take it later. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. It's not a requirement, so you can take it whenever you'd like. It's a 1 credit course, and at this point in time, it meets for half of the term. So whenever a student feels like they can fit it in their schedule, that works for them. A question, are there any CSD specific courses offered during the J term? There are not. That's a good question. There are not, and the reason, I'll tell you, the reason they're not is because our faculty are kind of busy doing other things with the graduate program, but also the opportunity to take some of those courses like chemistry, biology, and physics has worked well during J term. A lot of our students will take their biology course, their physics course, or their chemistry course during J term. And so far, we've only had 1 J term so far, but already for next J term, next year, those 3 courses are on the course schedule, and a lot of students like to take that then. Mm-hmm. It works well for them. And maybe you know enough about the Augustana curriculum to know about our perspectives. In other words, you have the opportunity to take a course in history, a course in the arts, a course in individual and society. So we want you to have a well-rounded education in CSD as well as in Augustana in general. And so there are perspectives in other areas to meet. And sometimes, and there's plenty of time to do that. There are lots of, we don't fill you up with all CSD courses. We want to make sure that you have a very well-rounded education. So sometimes students will do that during J-term, and always there's time to take those courses. And can you talk about some of the CSD majors do for study away opportunity? Yes, I can. A lot of our students study away. A lot of them do. And as a matter of fact, a program that that is on the books right now for next year, and I went last year, is the Cambodia J-term study away program. Dr. Jakelski and I take students to Cambodia. We did it last January. We're hoping that it will still be available this January. I mean, we're planning it. We just don't know. At this point in time, the program is still on, but we're waiting, of course, to see what the health situation is in Asia at this point. But oh yes, and that is not a program that is just for CSD students. Most of the study away programs are for anyone who's interested in them. And yes, there are lots of opportunities for study away, either in a semester or in a J-term. The only stipulation is that for seniors, the only time you can study away if you want to do it during your senior year is during J-term. Otherwise, if you wanted to do a semester away, and we have so many programs at Augustana for study away, so many. If you want to do that, we can, not a problem, it can be done. You just need to work closely with your advisor to figure out when you're going to take the courses, because clearly not every course is offered every term, okay? So, but working with your advisor is an easy thing to do. So the way that advising works at Augustana is that you have a first-year advisor that you work closely with, sort of to learn the ropes of Augustana. And you actually are in a 1-credit advising course with that advisor in the fall. So you get to know them pretty well. Then after that, you can, in the spring of your first year, you're able to declare your major, and then you have a major advisor who will work closely with you for the rest of your time at Augustana. And so when I say meet with your advisor to talk about study away, that's what you do. You will work closely with your advisor. We do that across the programs at Augustana, and certainly in the CSD department. You work very closely with your advisor. So yeah, that's a good question. But yes, you can always study away. Let's take the language. Oh, are there any Cs during J-term? Are the requirements the same for speech path and audiology? Good question. And what is the rate of? Okay, yes. So, whoops. Hold on a second. There we go. All right, so someone asked about well, let me finish talking about the study away programs, because there was a question related to that. This January, Dr. Jakelski and I took 18 students to Cambodia, and I think 10 of them were CSD majors. It just happened that way. But our students do lots of study away programs. A lot of them like to go to Australia, because they go in the winter, okay? So we've had a lot of CSD students do study away in Australia. One did one in Amsterdam. Some of them have done a summer program in London. They've gone everywhere. They really have gone everywhere. There's so many programs. A lot of them have gone to Guatemala. So yeah, there's just a wide range of programs. Someone asked about the requirements for speech language pathology and audiology. So at the undergraduate level, they are the same, okay? All prospective speech language pathologists and audiologists must take the same courses no matter where you go to school at the undergraduate level. What changes is graduate school, okay? So when you go to graduate school, you decide, okay, I'm going to go into speech language pathology, or I'm going to go into audiology. So that's when it's different. But at the undergraduate level, all the courses are the same. they're the same requirements. Audiologists have to know a lot about speech and language and those disorders, and speech language pathologists have to know a lot about hearing and hearing disorders and audiological testing. Let's see, I think there was, oh, what's the rate of Augie CSD students getting into master's programs? Very good question. It's very high. Our students do very well. Very well. Our students do very well at getting into graduate school, and our students always also do very well at once they go to graduate school. They have such a good grounding that our students do pretty well getting into graduate school and succeeding in graduate school. So we are very proud of our acceptance rate. It's very high. Augustana has a good, our CSD program at the undergraduate level has a very good reputation, and a lot of programs, graduate programs, are really happy to have Augustana students. Part of it, I think, is because of that clinical experience at the undergraduate level. Yeah, good question. Any other questions I can answer? Let's see if there were any other things there. Oh, what is the rate of getting into the new master's program? Okay, let me just look at these other questions real quickly here. Right, so let me talk about Augustana's undergraduates getting into the graduate program at Augustana. So here's the thing about that. Really, we designed the graduate program for our students. We have a very strong undergraduate program, so strong that we really want to keep our own students. We would like our students to stay. Now we have requirements, we have standards, and we want good students, but we produce a lot of good students. And so, yes, I mean, our program really is designed keeping in mind that we'd like our own students to stay. We would like that. Our goal at this point, well, let me tell you a little bit more about that. We have a program whereby you can, as an incoming first-year student, make an attempt to commit. You can state right up front that you would like to attend Augustana's graduate program, okay? And then there's sort of a contract involved. You have to keep your grades up, and if you do well and keep up your grade point average, then you can come right into our graduate program without necessarily having to apply for it and compete for the seats. Okay, so we do that intentionally. We want to keep our own students. Why? Because we prepare you for graduate school so well, right? We really want to keep our own students, and so so that's what we have in mind. And we have seats available for first-year students to commit. And then it is our hope that they would choose to stay and keep your grade point average up, and things go well, then you can go right into our program. There's some real advantages to that. So at this point in time, there is a graduate program tuition decrease for students that come from Augustana. So at this point, and you're coming in 4 years from now, so who knows what that would be like. But at this point, I can tell you that our undergraduate students who are applying to, who come to Augustana's graduate program have a $5,000 discount. Okay, so that helps because graduate school is expensive. It's expensive. It's also expensive to apply to graduate school, and you have to take, and it's also expensive, and you have to take a graduate entrance exam before you will go to graduate school. So all of those things are things that you don't have to do if you go right into our program. We don't need to know about how you would do on a graduate entrance exam, or you know, or to prove your GPA, or to prove that you can do graduate education, because we'll know that about you already when we let you in. So yes, our graduate program is designed for we'd love to keep our own students, a good number of them. And there are lots of, some students will want to stay, some students will just want to go someplace different, maybe live closer to home, whatever. There are a lot of different reasons, but we like to keep our own. Let's see if there's any other of those good questions here. No, I don't see any others. So let me talk for just a moment about the culture at Augustana and at Augustana's CSD program. So we really have worked hard over the years to develop a culture of support and good learning opportunities where we're supportive of one another, um, and building a community where people can learn and feel comfortable learning and support each other. And so I can say that our students are a good group. They really are. You know, you're in the same classes together, you get to know each other very well, and we end up with a cohort of students who are just tight, you know, just really supportive of one another, and get to be very good friends. And we have the greatest students. Oh, we have the best students. Oh, they're just wonderful. And again, because you're in all the same courses and spend a lot of time together, you end up with a nice group of people who will just sort of become part of your family over the 4 years. We have a student organization. Almost all colleges and universities with CSD programs do. There is an organization called the National Student Speech Language Hearing Association, and every college or university with a CSD program has a chapter of that, and we have a chapter of that. And so it's a nice organization that most students belong to. There's good reasons to belong to it. You get access to some resources online, and then when you do apply to become certified after graduate school, you get a little bit of a discount. So there's good reasons to belong to it. But also our students just do fun things.